Hi everyone, this is Michelle Krzyzewski from the X-Rite Pantone team here to present our third and final installment of the color journey, how to bring color to life. So far we've covered finding color trends and inspiration. We've talked about how to navigate color in your everyday life and the tools that we can use and the things that we should be aware of. And finally, we're going to talk about how we can explore the future beyond color. So discovering what's in store for the future and how we can get ahead of the design game. So let's dive right into it. So here at X-Rite, we have a huge product portfolio. We began manufacturing quality control instruments in 1975. And we entered the medical market at that time, and our first product was X-ray tape. So a lot of people are wondering how we got the name X-Rite. So we produced a tape that you could put onto X-rays and write a patient's name on it and be able to take the X-ray and still have that patient's name be shown. Before that, what people would do is they'd actually have lead letters that they would have to align and put every single time up when they wanted to take an X-ray of a patient. And supposedly the founder, one of the founders, his wife had been in that position and she dropped the letter tray one too many times and apparently said, we need to find a way that we can just write a patient's name and I don't have to, put these letters on every single time. So we found a way, and X-ray tape was our first product again for X-Rite. So now we've come a long way from that and kind of measuring the density or how much light can come through when you take an X-ray to getting into the color and how we can measure and find ways to keep color consistent throughout the workflow, no matter what your industry, from our industrial applications, imaging and media, retail paint. A lot of people are familiar with if they go into a Home Depot or a Lowe's and they want to match a specific paint color, they'll bring an item in. We make the device that will measure that sample and create that formula for the paint dispenser to get you that paint. So a lot of people may not have heard of X-Rite before if they're not in an industry using color every day. But usually when I bring up those samples, it's like, oh yeah, I've seen that or I've been there. So again, whether you know it or not, we've kind of been in the color workflow for a long time now. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we as a company have moved beyond just color and how everybody is getting more into what we're calling appearance. So appearance includes all aspects of how an item looks. So it goes, again, that beyond that color. So this can be complex fabrics, the glossiness of something, translucency and transparency, and texture. So before now, we've really only, as a company, been focused on what does this color look like, how can we keep it consistent. Now we're helping define, color is just one dimension. We really need to know about the appearance of something and how do we control that and how can we measure that. So what we as a company did is we created a system called our Total Appearance Capture. So I'm going to play a short video for you guys and really get a sense of what our Total Appearance Capture device is and the ecosystem that we say lives in.
Imagine being able to measure and model every appearance characteristic of a physical material in the virtual world. From automotive paints with special effects to leather grains and textiles, it's now possible to go beyond measuring color to capture appearance properties such as gloss, texture, translucency, and transparency. Introducing Total Appearance Capture, the fastest, most accurate way to take real materials and migrate them to the digital world. The process begins with a TAC7 scanner, which enables more accurate rendering, reduces the time designers currently spend manually adjusting and correcting scanned materials, and drastically cuts approval cycle time. Next, scan material characteristics are stored in an AXF file, a vendor-neutral file format that is compatible with leading visualization tools. The file information is then communicated to the Pantone Material Hub. The Pantone Hub is a desktop application that lets you store, manage, view, and edit a library of digitally captured materials and share these via AXF files across different locations or departments. This allows for a consistent presentation of material data across all visualization platforms used to design products and create marketing materials. Finally, the virtual light booth enables a side-by-side comparison of material renderings with physical samples under multiple lighting conditions, combining embedded motion tracking sensors, spectrophotometers, and colorimeters, along with the synchronization of the real-time rendering technology to deliver a 3D virtual experience for the user. Take your design virtualization to the next level with Total Appearance Capture.
All right, get back to our presentation here. So again, that was a short video that talked about that total appearance capture, our virtual light booth, and the Pantone software. So I'm going to dive a little bit more into the total appearance capture device. You saw it kind of standing tall and it was this dome. Well, this is inside that dome, the guts of it. So what does it actually do and why is it important? So most of our other spectrophotometers that X-Rite's produce have just, again, captured that color at different angles and things like that. The total appearance capture is actually visualization. It's taking hundreds of photographs of a material and it's using all these different pieces to create that AXF file that was talked about. So we have a pattern projector for the heat map or the texture of a material. We have 4 monochromatic cameras and they're all at different angles. So we can, again, see how material looks at maybe a shallow angle compared to straight overhead. There's 3 spectral filter wheels. So this is how we're getting the spectral data or, again, that color of the material. And then there's 32 LED lights throughout this whole dome, shining light on the material to make sure we're getting the most information that we can get. So also in the video, we saw that there was a sample holder that somebody pulled the drawer out, put a sample in it, and pushed it back in. So what's important to really know about the sample holder itself is what it's actually good for. So we are somewhat limited in our total appearance capture to the size that we can measure. So what we like to call is our region of interest. So this is the 3 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4 of an inch area of a material that we can capture and get the information and the images of. So if you have a solid color or a small pattern, we'd be able to capture that in here. If you have a larger pattern or a larger material, then there are other solutions that we can provide you. We also can only capture a material depth of 1 inch. So anything that's actually got curves to it or is thicker than that, we have to kind of either cut it down or find a flattened version of it. It's important that we kind of get that flat version so we are able to capture all the correct angles and things like that. That's all done in the device. We don't want it already to be a shape. So once we take like all those hundreds of images, because the material itself, once it puts in there, it goes and it's actually being rotated around, and we get pictures with different lighting conditions, different camera angles, and all of that data is just huge, just gigabytes worth of information. And what's really cool about the total appearance capture in the ecosystem is the Pantone software will give what's called an AXF file format. And it actually shrinks it down into a very manageable file size that you can easily share with vendors and customers and utilize in rendering software. So what we'd like to say is that the AXF file format describes the appearance. It's device neutral, platform independent. It makes it transportable. So like I said, it has that small file size that you can easily share. And it allows for certification, and it connects us to real world materials and SKUs. So we know how important it is to kind of have that information. We continue to keep that in that total appearance capture AXF file. We can store a lot of that metadata. So what you're seeing as an AXF is it's not just the image, but it's all those different maps as well. So the examples 1 through 4 on the right are different maps that you get as part of that AXF file that you could choose to export individually if needed. So that's our height map, transparency map if you have it, diffuse map. There's lots of different things and information that the TAC, we call it TAC for short, can capture and give you. So we also talked about that AXF file format, and what you need to know is that it's out there today. Many rendering applications use it, so you can see the slew of them up on the screen there. So Autodesk was one of our first pilot softwares, and they've been running and going with it. And as we're seeing it pick up in different industries, we're seeing more and more applications support it. So if you're using a specific application today that you don't see up there, just keep looking or check with them. They may be in the works or already partnering with us to get there, because that's our goal. Again, this is the future. It's not just flat images, but getting all of those appearance attributes and having it being something that is measured versus designed or having to be kind of recreated, where you're not getting that real photorealistic effect that you want your designs to have to come to life. So the process in which something kind of becomes an AXF and how it goes through, the first thing that you do is with your TAC is you have your material measured. This can take anywhere between 6 minutes all the way up to 90. So it just depends on how complex the material is. If you have something that's pretty much just maybe a flat plastic color, that could be 6 minutes. If you have like a car paint that has what we call a color flap, where it changes color depending on the direction in which you have the light hit it, and maybe metallic flake to it, that'd be a little bit more complex. So it has to take a lot more pictures to get that information. After that, it goes into what's called post-processing. So we use X-Rite's Pantone software, and it takes all of those images and it compresses that down into our AXF file format. And really the time that takes can be depending on how robust your computer is. Finally, the next step in the process to virtualize is the editing. So you want to still have that tileable asset that can be rendered on anything. So you go from, under 4 inches of material, that image, and you go through, and it has tools very similar to Photoshop where you can crop, you can skew it, you can make little adjustments, line up the edges, and it has some really, really cool tools to get rid of some, lighting defects and things like that, and tiling defects, and it looks amazing. It looks so realistic in the end, and you really pick up the editing very quickly. Takes maybe 15 minutes depending on the material. And then finally, you saw the Nespresso machine in the video, a person looking into a different type of light booth, and that's our virtual light booth. And it's where we can upload the IXF and compare it to that physical standard, and you have the ability to look to see, like, how does it look compared to my physical? Did this pass inspection? Did it not? It's a really, really cool piece of machinery. So if you ever have the ability to go to some of the different trade shows, I know NeoCon, we are there. SIGGRAPH is another big one, that we will have these virtual light booths in different partner booths for us, and they're showing off the materials in these. It's worth a look. So again, mentioning that there's a lot of different maps out there. So this is an example of those maps and the material. So just looking at the fabric here, it's pretty impressive that this in the background was a measurement that we took with the tack. So you can really see that detail that you get, and as you're looking at the different angles, how the little diamonds kind of can change and how they blend, and even looking at what we call the fresnel, or how it slightly looks different at different shallow angles. It's pretty impressive where we've gotten to, and is really the next step in the future. So if you're like, wow, this sounds great, like I have materials, this seems like super awesome for me, there's a couple different things you can do. You do have the ability, you can purchase the Total Appearance Capture, the TAC 7 device, or the virtual light booth. Or if you're like, wow, this sounds really great, but really I'm still at the beginning stages and I just need a really good picture and maybe a couple different maps, like a normal map, and I'm good. I just need those two things. We do have two different services. So we do have a TAC 3D scan service. So we here at X-Rite, you can send us your physical materials and we will measure them in the TAC for you and deliver those AXF files already edited. Or if you have the need just for, I need like a JPEG or PNG and a normal map, or just JPEG, we have a service called Digital Finish Capture, which is the very kind of bare bones of our appearance industry, where we're taking pictures of your materials and we make sure that everything is consistent with lighting, and we do all of the editing for you, and we'll give you that seamless tile that's all color corrected and named exactly how you want it. So it just really depends on what your needs are. If you're even in the industry, or material supplier, but possibly your customers, or if you're a vendor and you want to get realistic images, you can ask or request your vendors to supply you with these. So there's a lot of different things that you can do and options that you have, but X-Rite is definitely one of the ones, obviously, with a lot of color knowledge. So if you don't have good images, what you'll see is on the bottom right are examples of bad renderings where you have visible seams, light to dark coloring, the repeat is cut off. What you want to make sure to get your product to sell is that seamless tile, even color, and containing that full pattern repeat. So we can do that with either Total Appearance Capture or Digital Finish Capture. Just really depends on the type of detail that you're looking for. And again, depending on material as well, some materials work better with one application than the other. If you're interested in any of this to try to figure out what's best for you, then you can always just reach out and contact me. But I just wanted to, in this session, really talk about what our future here at X-Rite is and how we see appearance being a big part of that and some of the things that we're doing and that you might start to see out there as well. So thank you so much for attending. Again, this was our third session, so if you stuck with me for all three, thank you. Again, any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is up there on the screen. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have or connect you with somebody who can help. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed.